So, this isn't going to be long, but yeah. Let's talk. So, I didn't like season 1. And season 2, I don't think is much better. Also the fact that technically episode 1 is after this episode, which is confusing. Or I downloaded it incorrectly, which is realistically what could happen. But overall, I didn't thought this was a good idea. The one thing which I don't like, because they had this whole thing of like, oh, these mermaids have like 2 forms and they don't use it. They use it once in like season 1 of like showing her original form, and then another time before it disappears forever. But I do think it would be interesting to be like use that as like, oh, you have 2 forms, you have to use 2 things that could fight slightly differently. I did think of a fun idea of like, someone else thought about this thing of like fates and like, oh, good and bad thing, and I thought about something else being like doing a Jekyll and Hyde like ages ago, but I've always wanted to do an idea where like you have a D&D character but you have 2 forms. I'm not going to do what specifically they do, which is more specifically male and female, but have 2 forms to have like that have different stats sort of. I don't know how that would work. I need to see if anyone could figure it out. That's besides the point. That's not what this thing is about. But that wasn't used. Yay. So yeah. I am also going to acknowledge that this section will be a bit longer. Because there's because the one thing I do like is 2 things. One, in season 1 they do sort of a band thing. And this, when they talk a lot about the dark, light, and light mode, and definitely when you have, during the end, the cards being like, strength, this. There's a couple I didn't recognize. Like, I think Magician wasn't the number it should have been. It says 2. I don't think it's 2. I think. Because Fool is 0. So that's not 1. So Magician is 1. I think, like. But it's the whole thing about the good side of town and the bad side of the town, good and bad tarots. For the longest time I was like, is that the thing? It's not. It's to do with a theme park and the theme park characters coming to life, which I think is a fun idea. Like the idea that like you had one real person, you have a bunch of these animatronics doing these actions like da 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 da, and then they became real. I find fun. You also have the main sort of like guy with like 2 voices die and have his whole thing. But overall, I'll leave that to this. So yeah, I didn't really like it. It wasn't really a thing that I liked. It was very complicated and very odd in that sort of way. I don't know, it wasn't really a thing that I thought was interesting. Again, I think this is mostly I didn't came in this with the right energy. Because when I saw the first thing being like, oh, every person has a curse, I thought it'd be like, and I really badly want this, being like, it's like everyone has a curse, being like, everyone fights slightly different. And when you see the thing being like a sword without sharpness, I thought it would be like, oh yes, I have like a hammer, but I can't use the hammer part, and I have to use like a hammer as like a bar thing. You know what I mean. But I thought it was going to be like that. But it wasn't. There was probably a deeper meaning to this. I just really got excited with people fighting in unusual days, definitely with the sword being not sharp. And I thought it would be like everyone, but no, everyone had swords. Which I like. Fancy swords are really good. But yeah. From an anime I didn't really like to an anime I kind of did like. This is going to be fun, but yeah, I hope you enjoy, and good night.